Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 13, boom. This was a very interesting episode. We saw not exactly the falling apart of our villain side of the story, but certainly a change, because this episode did not at all go like I was expecting it to. It starts off where we find out that Radcliffe has made like a refined version of the Terrigen Mist. Of course, like regular Terrigen Mist, I don't know why he really needed to refine it. I guess it was just faster. I don't know. That seemed to be the case because, of course, the guy that does transform, it was almost instant. Like, he went into the cocoon and then, boom, he had his powers and he came right out. So, I guess that was the difference with it being refined, but it affects only humans. If someone has the inhuman DNA within them, or the Kree DNA, then, of course, they will transform into becoming an inhuman. And it starts off, and so they go through the example. I figured Nadeer would actually be fine. I was like, she probably won't be the person. I thought it would probably be like, one of her staff members or something, and then the guy would just like shoot the cocoon or something and kill it and be like, okay, you're in the clear. We're going to move on to the next step now. I didn't think it was going to be the guy who, and it made perfect sense. Because, of course, at first I thought he's stuck in this cocoon for who knows how long now. He ends up being an inhuman this entire time, but then he blows up the building, or at least that room, completely wipes away Nadeer. So she's just dead. Like, her whole purpose is gone. She has been wiped out, and now we find out that he's an inhuman, and he does still end up working with the Superior, who they officially mention that he's the Superior, because I mentioned that in the last episode. I was like, I don't know if he's actually the Superior, or if he's just another dude that doesn't like Inhumans. So it was kind of hard to tell, and then they kind of just made it official in this episode. Like, no, he is the Superior. And I was watching it with subtitles, and it said, like, the Superior, and I was like, okay, well, it didn't do that last episode, so I didn't know. But, he decides to still work for the Superior, and the Superior was in town, but of course, there's a lot of heat once, a senator dies in a crazy explosion. So he decides to leave. The guy ends up getting captured once Daisy takes a couple of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in. They take all these people out, which I thought that was kind of funny, because as they're walking up, she's like, if you have to shoot, be precise, because we don't know what these grenades look like, or what these explosives look like. So they're knocking the people out, and the guy tries to leave, and she just pushes him against the wall. And I guess it wouldn't have mattered if he died, but I'm like, explosives can be very touch and go. You blasting shockwaves at somebody, he could literally explode. I'm like, he could have died if he actually did have some sort of new crazy type of explosive on him. That probably could have killed him, but I just thought it was funny. Like, she was just like, alright, boom, and just blew him like 10 feet into the next wall. But they end up capturing him, and they realize that he's actually the Inhuman, or Fitz and Simmons do. And once that happens, they have a very risky scene, because the whole episode, Mace was trying to figure out, where do I now fit in on this team? I was, I was the Inhuman S.H.I.E.L.D. director. I had super strength, and I was meant to be a symbol of power and stuff like that. And now, not only do I not take the serum as often, I probably can't take it at all, because every time I use it, I'm closer and closer to dying. Like, next time it could send me into cardiac arrest. If it doesn't, it's more likely that it'll eventually just kill me. And as Simmons put it, it'll be someone, basically you're just lucky and lucky and lucky until you're not. And the luckier you are, the more fatal it's going to be. That one time you're not lucky, it's more likely eventually it'll just be like, yeah, you just die, period. So he takes that risk at the end, and I thought for sure, I was like, are they going to kill him in this, or is something going to happen? How's this going to play out? But he tries to do it. He stops the truck, and he gets, taken down. They tase him with the little cattle prize they've been using this whole season, or at least this half of the season. And they take him down, and the whole next episode seems to be focused on Coulson being like on the Superior's crazy killer board, and of course Mace being abducted and what they're going to do with his character. So I'm very curious where they're taking him. They do finally reference it, because they mentioned that this serum was created from Daisy's dad. It was based off of something he did, but they actually referenced it. It was like, yeah, they tried to perfect what happened with Captain America, and I was like, at least they referenced it. They were honest. It was like, okay, everything's super soldier serum. It always has been, and it always will be, because it's not a weird experiment if it's not based off of something from Captain Rogers. That's just the way it is. It has to be based off of Captain America. So I like that little reference. I was like, alright, They were honest about it. They took it from Daisy's dad, but it was meant to be, here's the next Captain America. That's exactly what they were trying to do. So I was happy that they were honest about that. Because I'm like, interesting twist, but that's what they wanted. That's what everybody always wants. Always. There's like a dozen characters I can think of off the top of my head where it's like, yep, super soldier serum. Didn't work that time. But everybody keeps trying. So many people fail at that, and yet everybody in the Marvel Universe still keeps trying to do it. Like, there's so many characters, you think they just get together, like, we need to just forget that crap. It ain't working. So, like, there's one dude that could do it, and he died right after he did it. So, they just need to let that crap go. But anyway, like the episode, I thought the action was actually pretty good. And then the action mostly came from watching the dude explode over and over again, which they had a great visual for it when he escapes, when he actually escapes S.H.I.E.L.D. And his body, like the cells in the air actually reform because he turns pretty much into an explosive gas and then he reforms from that. And I thought that looked really cool. I was like, that's actually a great visual where his cells literally come back piece by piece and it starts at the bone and then he forms from the inside out. And I was like, that actually looks really, really cool. So love the visual for that. Love the way they trapped him too, because Daisy eventually was just using her abilities to just blow him up because she had to, stall for time. I was like, that was cool. She's just blowing this dude up and he's reforming. And eventually she's able to blow him up. Fitzsimmons, they drive the truck right through the smoke, turn the machine on, sucks his cells into a bomb-proof or explosive-proof ball. And now he's just trapped in there. And I was like, that's such a simple but genius idea. And I just thought it was a really cool way to beat him. It was like, he's going to reform inside this little tiny ball. And I just thought that was really cool. So I love that. And then we have the other side of this episode, which was Coulson and Mack meeting the originator of Ada. And I thought that was actually really good. It was definitely the emotional side of this episode. And it had a crazy ending. And I love the ending. I like the way they did it because they meet this woman. And at first it's like, okay, well, she was the former partner of Radcliffe. And of course he based Ada off of her. And so they try to get some information out of her, anything they can, like where Radcliffe might be, a way to stop him and stuff like that, and just a way to find him. And so they use her, and eventually she agrees, but she tells them, basically kind of took off, because he kind of lost it because she was dying, and that, ultimately that's kind of how they split up. At least that's how I heard it. I was kind of half paying attention, so either he left because he was a douche, or she left because he was just crazy in general. But somewhere in there, he was crazy. I definitely got that part. And I like the way they did that. Like, her story was just very interesting, where all she wanted to do was live out the last of her life. Like, there was nothing that could happen, nothing that would work, and she just wanted to live life on her own terms. But she decides to help them, and when Radcliffe ends up calling, she ends up going to him, and he gives her pretty much the ultimate choice. Is like, hey, I found a way that can save you. I found a way that can help you live beyond what you were supposed to. And so she decides to go with him because death is scary. And I thought that was a very interesting end. And I just like the way they did it, where she decides to help them because he's such a crappy person, and she knew that, and she wanted to help them really capture him because he's a bad guy. But in that moment, it's just, I don't want to die. If there is that chance, considering this guy is technically a genius, and there is that possibility, that's why she went. And even Coulson says that, like, there's a slim chance, but she took it because she wanted to live. And she gets put into the framework, and her body does end up dying, but she lives on, basically as cold. And it's that very interesting thing where it's like, you're gone, but not really. And does she even know it? I mean, it was very different than with May. I would assume it's almost the same thing. Like, she was forced into it, but this woman chose to do it. But I'm sure he put her in there under false pretenses, where it's like you kind of forget that other stuff happened, and it's perfection. So it was very interesting where she does end up dying, and her consciousness, as he put it, will live on forever. And then they have a very interesting moment. They were kind of, there are little drops here and there, and I don't know where they're taking this, but Ada is definitely in this episode becoming more human. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what that means for Radcliffe's character, if she'll develop feelings, or how the heck that's going to play out. Like, who knows? I mean, she's not built in the same way as the other LNDs where they have the actual, like, the fake brains. She's still just a full-on robot. So I don't know what that means, you know, with her doing that, and like she takes the necklace and stuff, like kind of wanting to be more like the original version, especially because she found out in this episode that she is based off of someone else, and she's like, oh, so I'm not unique. And it was just interesting. It was like, this has an effect on her, like when Radcliffe kisses the woman's hand, and I believe her name was like Agnes, or her last name was. And so he kisses her hand, and Aiden like cocks her head to the side just a little bit. And it's like she's noticing human elements to an actual human that looks exactly like her, and it's like, I've never seen this side of, you know, Dr. Radcliffe before, but it's almost like she's not processing the fact that, you know, the difference between her and this woman who is an actual human being. So it was very interesting, the processes that she was making. We've seen her do that before, like when she was dealing with May, when they had their couple of fights before they put her into the sequence. Like the early stuff, it was like, you know, like she had to be told not to kill her off, and she's going through those typical kind of robot responses, like, well, she's a liability if we keep her alive. And it's like, see, there's certain stuff there where she's twisting certain elements into her own perspective. So I don't know where they're headed with that, but she took that necklace at the end, and I'm like, that's something crazy. I just don't know what it's gonna lead to just yet, but I really did enjoy this episode. I thought we had some good visuals. Definitely a change in the game. I mean, it starts with Nadeer dying, and then it goes into the Superior basically losing his right-hand man, who is now an inhuman, who, if he escapes, is going to be very dangerous. And then, of course, we have the capturing of Mace. So there's just a lot of crazy stuff going down in this next episode, with the Superior going after Coulson and having this weird obsession with him. How is he going to use Mace to get to them? A lot of questions there, but I'm definitely excited for it. Of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, though, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts were, and I definitely want to know how you guys feel about the Superior actually capturing Mace at the end of this episode. Like, do you think they will kill him off in this next episode? Do you think he'll survive beyond this season? They haven't done this in a while, but I think it was last season I mentioned this. Whenever somebody new comes along, at this point they all die off. Like, only the same couple of people end up surviving. Everybody else that comes on that's new as a recurring character, like Yo-Yo, she comes in and then she's gone for a bunch of episodes, and she comes in every once in a while. But when someone's in every single episode and they're like the new guy, they get killed off. We've seen that happen for like the past 3 seasons. That's just how it plays out. Like, the newest person is out, for the most part, at least. So I don't know where they're exactly headed with his character, but I would love to know your theories on that. And of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.